Hey Carly, thanks for coming in today. What would you like to talk about today?
So I'm really frustrated with my friend. Every year she asks me to come over for this holiday, and I don't want her in my space for that long. I don't want to cook for them. I don't want to have company for that long.
Sounds like she's pretty imposing.
Yeah, that's how it feels, and I get really angry when she asks me, and I start avoiding her phone calls. I just don't want to deal with it.
Okay. And when's the last time that the situation came up?
Well, she actually called me earlier this week and asked, and I said I'd have to get back to her because I was just so furious, and I feel like it's pretty inappropriate for someone to ask somebody to stay over for that long.
So what was, if you can remember back to when she called, what was going through your head as you're on the phone with her?
So I just kept thinking, people should not impose like this. And I was getting really angry. Like, I found my body, I was just like clenching my fists, and I think my cheeks were getting red. I was just furious.
Well, you're having a really strong reaction to this.
Yeah.
And how else has it affected you? Has it affected how you act or your behavior or your interaction with your friend?
Yeah, well, I definitely try to avoid phone calls with her and not make plans. And also, my husband's really close with her husband, and so it's kind of awkward that when our relationship is rocky because they have such a strong relationship, so it puts me in a weird position.
Right, of course, that sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like perhaps it could be helpful to you to try to manage some of this anger so that when you do have to be with this friend with these situations, because your families are friends, that it can be a little more comfortable and you can feel less resentful and kind of stop avoiding her and face this issue.
Yeah, that would be really great, especially because I told her I would call her back today, so I have to figure out kind of what to do.
Okay, so I want you to see how thinking that people should not impose on others leads you to feel really angry because you feel like this friend has really violated this rule of yours, which then leads you to avoid her. It makes things sort of difficult in your interpersonal relationships and sort of leads to an outcome that you're not very satisfied with. Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about it that way, but when you break it down like that, yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Okay, good. So maybe what we can do today, if it's okay with you, is try to talk through this and think of a new way to approach the situation, a new thought to have that will help you to feel less furious and help you to handle the situation a little better.
Yeah,
Okay,
that sounds
great.
good.
So I'm wondering, how does it logically follow for you that people should not impose themselves on others?
I mean, I think that it's kind of a rule I had heard growing up that you should take care of yourself, or if you do have to ask for a favor, you only ask kind of a family member, and I just feel like she does not follow those rules at all.
Okay. And who came up with these rules?
You know, now that you've asked me that, I mean, I guess it was my mom, but I always thought it was kind of law because that's what I had grown up hearing. But I guess you're right, it isn't actually a law,
Right.
and maybe other people didn't grow up thinking that or learning that.
Right. Like maybe your friend, is it possible your friend didn't grow up that way?
Yeah,
Her
probably.
mom maybe didn't tell her that? Right. So what evidence do you have that this rule is just and is right and should kind of govern your relationships?
Yeah, I guess now when I think about it that way, I don't really have evidence. That's what I grew up kind of thinking and hearing. So I took it as a real written rule. But now that you mention it, it's just kind of a thought or a way of deciding that life should be led this way, but it's not actually true.
Right. It sounds like it's something in your head that maybe governs the way that you act, but it's not universally applied. And I think it's okay to think that it'd be nice if that were universally applied, but unfortunately it seems that's not the case.
Yeah.
And what does it do for you to sort of have this idea in your head that people shouldn't impose?
I mean, I don't like the consequences, because when I think like what she's doing is wrong because people shouldn't impose, that just gets me really angry, and then, you know, it leads me to avoid calling her back and to have uncomfortable conversations with my husband about them as friends. So it's definitely not helping me.
Okay. Sounds like really it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds like this is a sort of rule that applies across your life, maybe not just in this situation. Has it ever served you to have this thought that people shouldn't impose?
Not really. I mean, I guess I've used it to push myself to be more independent, and not impose on other people, but it hasn't actually helped me deal with others who don't follow this clearly
Right.
unwritten rule.
Right. Okay.